Hi, this is Jason Fielder with the Daily Forex Report for December 7th. We're going to look at the US Japanese yen pair first. This particular pair I'm expecting to move as high as 94.15 and as low as 90.56. Now look for some resistance to pull into this market around 93.39 and look for support around 91.50. in this particular pair. This pair is moving sideways. The bias is definitely to the downside. It closed up on Friday, but we'll just have to see. I anticipate this pair maybe tracking sideways for a session or two and then moving lower. Now let's take a look at the EURUSD pair. This particular pair closed down Friday, did create an inside bar, and we'll talk about that a little bit here in a minute. But we are looking for this pair to move as high as 128.95 and on the lower side 124.97. Now look for some resistance to come in around 127.98 and look for some support around 126.44. Now if you trade inside bars, this is a fairly decent one to trade. I'm looking for this particular pair to move lower. If we get a break of this low during this next session, which would be at 125.49, I'm looking for it to move as low, or to exit basically, at 124.90, which would be roughly 59 pips between those two. So that's kind of what I'm looking at during this session for that particular pair. Now the pound US dollar pair, this pair also formed an inside bar on Friday's session. This pair is the bias is to the downside. It is moving, did move kind of sideways Friday to form that inside bar, but the bias is definitely to the downside. I am expecting it to move between 148.15 and also hit resistance around that point and support around 146.50, and expecting it to move down to that point also. Now on this particular pair, I'm looking for it to move higher. If we get a break above 148.14, I'm looking to exit this particular trade at 148.80, which would give us a profit of 66 pips, and this would be using a 1-to-1 risk to reward ratio. So if we break the 1.4814, basically we would subtract 66 from that, and that's where our stop loss would be. Now switching over to the US Swiss pair, this particular pair moved higher on Friday, moved much higher on Friday. They were definitely retracing all of the move down that occurred on Thursday. As you can see, this particular pair did gap on the open of this session, a fairly significant gap, and we know that the odds are by the end of the week that it will have filled that gap and possibly broken through our resistance level, but we'll just have to wait and see. After a large move up like that, sometimes it will pull back pretty hard. I am expecting this pair to move as high as 122.50 and hit some resistance there, and look for support in this pair around 120.93. Now that's about all for this particular pair that I'm looking for. Now we did have last week the Euro Australian dollar that we were looking at. I want to just revisit that real quick. If you recall, we had earlier in the week we had an inside bar created, and then the next day we were looking to go either short or long. It did go long, and then we were looking for it to go up to 2.0100 and basically give us a profit of 212 pips if it did that. And as you can see, even though it closed down, first it did surge higher and did go ahead and hit our profit target for that particular trade. So for those of you that were tracking that one, I think that day we had 3 inside bars. We had one that was stopped out, another that was stopped out, and then we made money going the other direction. And then of course this trade, which took a couple of sessions to hit our exit, but as you can see, it was definitely worth it with the 212 pip profit on that particular trade. Now, looking ahead, later today, the Japanese yen has their trade balance being released for October. That's going to be at 6:50 p.m. The consensus is that it has dropped from 247.1 billion yen down to 74.8 billion yen, which is a significant amount and could really hurt the yen overall. Now, the yen also has, for Monday, going into Monday session, they're going to release their GDP for the third quarter at 6:50 p.m. The consensus is that it has dropped as well from negative 0.1% down to negative 0.2%. So that's more negative news for the yen. Although both of these, the trade balance can move the currency, and so can the other news announcement, the GDP. But it's not one, it's not like a interest rate announcement. So if you're going to try to trade those, you really need to look at what the news is as far as when it comes out. Is it way off of what they're anticipating? If it is, then it might be worth trading. Otherwise, I would definitely stay on the sidelines for that particular trade. Well, this is about it for today. Until tomorrow, this is Jason Fielder. Good trading.